I think I just didn't listen to my body. I didn't listen, right? And I almost think that the hospitalizations that come with being in a manic episode and a depressive episode, they force you, right? It's like boom, smack in the face. Like, you have to stop, right? And it forces you to dig deep and reflect and see what's happening within the surface that you're running away from. So for me, the pauses, that happened in my life were really like intense moments of everything breaking, not just my body, but my mind, and then because my mind breaks, I think the body follows, right? The body remembers what's happening.
Mm.
So I've experienced my mind breaking, and then several years later, my body breaks down,
Mm.
and it's like this like conundrum where you're like, okay, I need to be both physically and mentally healthy, because if not, they both catch up to each other. If you're not physically healthy, your mind is going to follow, a distress. And the same thing with bipolar disease. And like, if your mind is not sound, your body also remembers and it follows. So it's a like a uniform kind of like relationship.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Truth That Heals podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Anthony Hernandez, and today we have a special guest. She is a TEDx speaker as well as an author, and she has her upcoming memoir coming out. It is called All the Pills I Swallow. Please welcome to the podcast today's guest, Gabriela D. Ayala. Gabriela, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Ryan. How are you? I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you on the show. Thank you for connecting with me. That's so awesome that we actually arranged to find this time to finally do the podcast.
Totally, totally.
Yeah, we've been communicating for a while, and I've seen that you have you've gone out and you did a TED Talk. Before we really dive into your whole story, can you tell us a bit about that experience?
Oh my goodness, yes. The TEDx talk is one of my, I guess, bucket list things. I've always wanted to do one, and I wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go in. But after kind of exposing myself in my memoir, I thought, why not take it out to the national world and the stage? And so when I applied, I didn't think anything of it, and then I did get some response back that I made it, and so I was like, oh, there's no turning back, and so my story is out there for everybody to see, and there's no shame anymore.
And where was that filmed?
That was in Birmingham, Alabama. That was TEDx Ensley Avenue at ED. Yeah.
Okay, and before that, had you ever been a like a spectator in someone else's TED Talk? TED Talk?
I have seen them as an educator. Like, I always use them for my lessons and whatnot. So I've always been like, man, I could do that. And I did. So that was exciting.
Was it exciting, or were you nervous, or was it all of the above?
Whew. Well, it started a lot of prep, a lot of kind of the writing aspect of it was first, and then the memorization of it was second. And I had a few months to prepare. And then basically when I got up there, um, I forgot, like, and I didn't forget it. I skipped over about a minute of my speech and improved a little bit, and I was scared that it didn't come off like polished or anything. But when I saw it again, I thought that was pretty good. Nobody could tell.
I
So
couldn't tell.
I did well.
Well, again, thank you for being here. Now, I wanted to get into a bit of your story. You do have your memoir. It is called All the Pills I Swallow. Is that out? Is that available already?
It is. It's available on all almost all online formats. I think it's Amazon and all the other places that sell books online. Oh, you just got to research it. It's there. It's there for sure. But Amazon's probably the easiest to find.
Okay, so this is a memoir, and what is this book? What are you what is the message that you are sharing with the audience in your story?
Sure. It is a it basically is a coming out and a honest, raw, truthful tale about my undiagnosed bipolar disorder, um, and then my use of like drugs and alcohol and sex to kind of mask all of the issues that I was having, plus kind of self-diagnosing. And then as a high achieving individual, with my PhDs and my corporate kind of like an academic world, I finally broke, and I was diagnosed with bipolar 1 disorder at 32 years old. And that was, and as a mom too, with 3 young kids, it was a huge collapse. It was I mean, when you said major T, like trauma, that was the major T. It was a 3-month manic episode that kind of came crashing down during my comprehensive doctoral exams. And so it's a story about how I led to that moment, and then kind of like how I transformed throughout it.
So you mentioned like crashing down. Oh man, like my mind like goes into so many places. But when you say crashing down, there have been times in life, I think maybe for all of us, where it feels like everything is crashing down around us. But did it feel like for you, was it like everything was crashing down around you, or did it feel like everything was crashing down within you?
Hmm. At first, in my manic episode, I did definitely feel like everything around me was crashing down, and I was the only one with the insight of what was really happening. When I was diagnosed, I still didn't believe it. I would say a month or two after my medicine started kind of getting into my system, and everything stopped. The voices, the illusions, everything just kind of just like that lifted. That's the moment where I was like, I was the one crashing down, not everything around me. So it was a mixture of both.
And what helped you to, I don't know, like rebuild or because when someone is crashing down, it gets kind of hard to find direction. But what helped you to find direction when it came to the rebuilding part after the crashing
Yeah.
down part?
Whew. It took, I would be silly to say it was linear and it was quick. It was anything but linear, and it was long term. Because you might not know, when you have bipolar disease and you go through a manic episode and to crash like I did, um, and to be a person of like high achieving individual who validates her thoughts and ideas as unique and new and exciting. As an academic too, that was kind of my thing. I was like, oh, I'm spot on some things. I can create new knowledge. Um, when that came crashing down to where the point where you're like, I can't trust my brain, like I can't trust my thoughts, that's a whole different ballgame. We're talking about ideologies within yourself, like who you are, right? And what you think, how you think it, right? You have to like reconstruct everything from the bottom up. And it took, I wouldn't say 10 years finally, before I finally got back to kind of like, oh, I can handle this after lots of medication and therapy. And then another crash came down and I had to rebuild again, right? Another manic episode and depressive episode. So it just, it takes time, and you have to be kind to yourself, right? You have to understand the humanity behind like who you are. But you also have to see beauty in the process of breaking down and rebuilding, because there's something really beautiful about that, where I think intervention kind of comes in and says, hey, like maybe you just aren't going in the right path, or maybe you need to reflect again and recalibrate, to go in the right direction. So I don't know. I count it as both blessings and curses at the same time. But, in the end, it's just who I am.
Talking about finding the beautiful even in the crashing down.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find the beautiful during the crashing down?
Very interestingly, I found the beautiful in mania. Um, Mania is a very beautiful, euphoric place.
Mm.
And So it was weird that I found this beauty within the chaos, right? The manic episode, the mind breaking. It was absolutely beautiful. The crash, not as beautiful. It's very painful to go through because it's, just as high as the euphoria is, just the low that you're going to get, right? So they go hand in hand. And waiting for that moment to happen is bad. But you don't really see it while you're in, especially depression, manic depressive episodes. But if you can make it through, right, and you step outside and you take your medicine and you kind of go back to your normal, I think reflecting on it, I can see the beauty within both of them.
And what are some misconceptions that people have regarding mental health that
Yeah.
that really, stick out to you?
Yeah. For me, it's that is the high performance aspect of it. I think there's a lot of us, probably also in your viewership, that are extremely high achieving individuals that seem to have it all together, and so we mask that the tax of wearing the mask because you're hiding behind your mental health illness, and then the other mask where you're this high performing individual. And so for me, it is that aspect of like, hey, like high performing individuals aren't always okay. They're probably the ones that are desperately asking for help. And if we don't help them, it's going to be disaster for academia, for your family, for business, for all the way around, right? And so for me, it is this aspect of like, can we be high achieving and create atmospheres and um, situations where companies and academia and spaces are safe for you to be who you are, right? Tear down the mask, but also accommodate the brilliance so that they can capitalize from it and this individual can thrive.
So before you were saying that because you're a very intelligent person, you have a good education, and
Yeah,
you were diagnosing yourself. You're doing a self-diagnosis and misidentifying what it was that you were experiencing,
definitely.
um, which I think can be a bit dangerous, depending on the
Mm-hmm.
circumstance. Can probably be a bit
Yeah,
dangerous, but then
extremely.
extremely yes.
Mm-hmm.
But also, in your story, you've shared that you were able to finally identify what it was that you were going through. Now, after that moment, you were able to identify and acknowledge what it was that you had to go through. What were the steps that you took that helped you in your healing journey?
Sure. Well, I want to say like I reached out for help a few times while I was self-diagnosing myself and self-medicating myself with drugs and alcohol and dangerous kind of, Um, and it was that shady spot where you're like, man, like what am I hiding, right? Because for me, it was the slowdown, right? I was afraid of things stopping or slowing down because if I did slow down and stop working or writing or whatever I was doing, something within me I knew was going to break. So the way I was like chasing out of my break, like running away from it by keeping extremely busy, doing things that people would be like, how? With three kids, babies under 3 years old, three boys under 3 years old, right? Two full-time jobs, a full-time, load of academic classes and a PhD program, all these things where you're like, how are you doing that? And I would always just be like, it's just who I am. But I realized that was the way of like masking or like running away from what it was truly underneath like the surface, which was this bipolar disorder that needed taming. And that's the way I learned how to manage it. And so that's why I think that like high performers, like a lot of them are just masking it by being extremely, productive and intelligent and putting out ideas and you just like, how do you do it? And you think that's normal.
Yeah.
It really isn't, So
Yeah. Yeah, for many, it's like, wow, it's inspiring. My gosh, how did they keep going?
correct. And then you don't realize that behind all of that, there's probably somebody that's breaking inside and that this just doesn't want to face it.
So going back to like high performers, and you yourself were just extremely active, busy, and you're doing good things. You know, you're taking
Yeah.
care of your kids and working, getting an education. But did you ever feel that your body was ever, I don't know, like did you feel like your body was telling you that you needed to slow down?
I no, it was very much. I think I just didn't listen to my body. I didn't listen, right? And I almost think that the hospitalizations that come with being in a manic episode and a depressive episode, they force you, right? It's like boom, smack in the face. Like, you have to stop, right? And it forces you to dig deep and reflect and see what's happening within the surface that you're running away from. So for me, the pauses, that happened in my life were really like intense moments of everything breaking, not just my body, but my mind, and then because my mind breaks, I think the body follows, right? The body remembers what's happening.
Mm.
So I've experienced, my mind breaking, and then several years later, my body breaks down,
Mm.
and it's like this like conundrum where you're like, okay, I need to be both physically and mentally healthy, because if not, they both catch up to each other. If you're not physically healthy, your mind is going to follow, a distress. And the same thing with bipolar disease. And like, if your mind is not sound, your body also remembers and it follows. So it's a like a uniform kind of like relationship.
I like how you're putting these two together like on a scale. I mean, they both they both contribute to each other. But I was thinking, I was remembering an old saying, "Mind over matter." And maybe it does. I mean, because they're like, for example, like back in the days, and I'd be in school, there were times where I didn't want to get up and read early, or I wouldn't. Even now, sometimes I don't want to go exercise, and I'll just
Right.
think mind over matter. And sometimes,
Mhm.
the mind does give that discipline to the body, and the body will
Right.
follow.
Follow. Exactly.
But as I'm listening to you, it's not only about listening to the mind, but also listening to the body. So, uh, in your case, you also had medicine that's helped. Um,
Helped or hurt? We'll see.
well, that's interesting because I don't know enough.
Mhm.
I don't know much. Can you shed light on this?
Absolutely. One, when you have a serious mental health issue, medicine helps, right? It can, I think a lot, there's a 3 month like window, right? I think a lot of persons, when they kind of get a diagnosis, right? It's hard for them to wrap their head around it. And then they're not giving much time to reflect on it. They're automatically given medication, right? And this medication takes, they tell you, 30 to 60 days to really get into your system and have it work. And so the problem is that, one, you never know exactly what is going to work, right? So you could wait 60 days and find out there's some issues going on here, and then you have to start another one and wait another 60 days, right? So people get tired of that, as well as maybe sometimes they feel like the medicine is making them, or alternating their moods or their like personalities or who they really are, which is a big issue with bipolar disease. People feel like their creativity, their light is stunted by having lithium or mood stabilizers and antipsychotics. It does feel that way, but in honesty, like, medicine helps to provide this stability for you, and then once you get that base, then you can start incorporating a more healthier version of who you are, right? What your moods mean, your creativity, and it's more like it's just balance in a way that you're not going to go to the extremes of either one pole, right? So it's just relearning how you work with the medicine.
So let's say a person is on I mean, because I think you were saying that you kind of test it out for 60 days, right?
Yeah, 30 to 60 days at
Oh,
least. Yeah.
okay, let's say a person is on a medication and maybe they feel like they don't want to bother their physician, so they don't say anything, but they feel like something isn't right with the
Mm,
medication. Uh, wh- I have no idea. Honestly, I'll be honest. I
yeah.
have no idea. So what would life be like?
Right. Well, one is you have to learn how to self-advocate, right? Nobody's going to do it for you. And there's always a solution to almost every problem that comes up, right? So if you feel like something isn't working for you after those 60 days, um, then definitely speaking up about what is the issue that is happening and then trying to figure out. Now, remember, after diagnosis, it takes a good year and a half to 2 years to figure out what works. And that's where people break. They're tired of it. They don't want to continue forward. They're tired of the roller coaster of losing weight. Something works, but then they increase their weights or something and their weight too much, and then they get depressed or something doesn't work. They expected it to work. So it literally takes a year or two to find that right balance. And if you can hang in there, that's where the magic kind of happens.
So talking about magic, you've shared about what you experienced and identifying and finding your healing, but the magic I want to now tackle is the magic of writing your memoir. Where did this idea, how did it spark, and how did it start?
Yeah. Um, Interestingly enough, it started with a manic episode. I was in my PhD, another PhD program. So this is two times that I've tried to go back into PhD in academia. And I was in the middle of it. And I I was tasked with writing something about like academia throws my mind into a whirlwind. I realized after some reflection that it was the conforming that you have to do in academia, right? That you have to sound like a certain type of person. You have to every everything has to be in a specific place, cited specifically, the author, this, everything has a formula, everything has to fit. And I was trying to fit when I never fit, right? So there was this like battle between like sounding a certain way, but thinking and ideologically being like, this is just not me, right? So it was always that fight. Anyways, I had a manic episode after one of those papers, and it was my like within my manic episode, my internal dialogue was telling me, you're not going to solve the issues that you want to solve through getting your PhD in education. Like that's just not how it's going to happen. You need to write your book. You need to write your book. And so I spent really the beginning of the book, I was manic for 3 months, just writing out my story and saying, okay, this is the direction I'm supposed to go in. So I don't know, it's weird, but that's just the direction that I chose. And so this is where I am now.
Yeah, wow. And when you were in this stage of your or in this episode of your life, and you said it happened twice,
Yeah.
um, how how did it affect the people around you, specifically those closest to you?
Yeah. I would say it's the first episode was definitely a huge kind of like all family ordeal, but basically my husband, who has been my rock, he has literally saved my life. It just he did the hardest thing anybody could do, right? The first episode, he had to Baker Act me in Florida. It's called Baker Act. It's called different things in different states, but it was you like involuntarily taking from your house and put into an institution because you're a danger to yourself or others. He had to go in front of a judge and tell them that my wife is a danger to herself and others. And so I got escorted out a couple days later, and put into an institution. And then the second time, we knew kind of what was going to happen. We knew what was happening, but it was more of not, it was voluntary. Like I knew I needed help, but he is the key because he understands who I am. He sees the fluctuations, he understands, and he puts me in check. He's like, hey, you're working full time, but you're also working on a book, but you're also working on another book, but you're also trying to build your business, but you're also doing this. We need to check that, right? Because he knows my patterns. And so having somebody on your corner that you trust, that you really trust, that recognizes who you are and your disease and respects it in that way is just key to everything.
Well, that's I think that's special to have.
Yeah, it is. I'm very lucky.
Okay, well, I wanted to go back to your memoir. Um, it must have been challenging. You were saying that you were writing this during an episode, or at least the first part. But besides that challenge, what did you love about writing your story?
Oh man, there's no limitations, right? Academia puts like strict place, like things in place that have to happen, and they almost tell you, they're not almost, they do tell you that you are not part of your story. Like you cannot be part of the literature. You cannot be you. You have to think third person outside of who you are, and look at things from this other view, never from your view, right? And so for me, it was so liberating to be like, this is just who I am. This is how I write. This is the kind of stuff that I want to be known for, the kind of stuff that I want to change. Like, I want others to feel like they can talk about these things, even if you are high achieving, even if you're in corporations or you're in academia. The only way to stop the stigma is to talk about it and normalize it. That's the only way to do it. And so I felt like that was my platform to kind of let that out, and then start kind of the ball rolling with the TEDx talk and my KeepBrilliant kind of venture that I'm going into to help corporations and academia kind of keep their best talent while also underlying, like, supporting them the way they need to be.
So now that you're on this path, I mean, you're going out, you're talking on TEDx, and you're on this podcast, and you're sharing your book. Do you view yourself as a mental health advocate, an educator, or something totally different?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, man, do I advocate? Yes. But am I advocate alone? No, I really am more of an awareness and, solution, kind of centered. I want to bring awareness to, these high performing atmospheres where people are, very high performing, mask who they are, and don't want to say anything until it's almost too late. And then the companies and the universities lose, tons of money, tons of institutional knowledge, the best people, because they weren't there to prepare for the break and weren't there to support it afterwards, right? So for me, it is part advocacy, part, awareness, and part solution based.
Awesome. So for those who are interested in getting a copy of your book, can you remind us the title and where it can be found?
Yeah, here it is. It's All the Pills I Swallow by Gabriela D. Ayala. And the best platform I would say is Amazon.
So yeah, so audience, go check it out, get a copy.
Go check it out.
And do you have you do have a TEDx talk. Where can people find that?
That's called When the Mind Breaks, Choosing to Stay. That's the name of the TEDx talk. And you could just type it in, or you can type my name, Gabriela D. Ayala, and it should come up. And also, if you're interested in either like having someone talk to your business or your university, or you're a high achieving individual, you could look me up at LinkedIn. It's Gabriela D. Ayala as well. And I'll be there. So you can reach out to me anytime. And also through email, book@GabrielaDAyalaSpeaks.com.
Thanks so much, Gabriela. And now for this part of the podcast, I ask each guest the same question. And I'm going to ask you now, and that is, Gabriela, what is your truth that heals?
The truth that heals is that I am imperfect, right? And that I have a mental health disease that is a serious one, but that I am still able to contribute to society as a high functioning individual that is creative, intelligent, and won't let anything get her down.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your truth here on this podcast and for sharing all about your book. To the audience, go get a copy now of All the Pills I Swallow, available on Amazon. And if you've been listening to this episode over on any podcast platform, feel free to leave a review and comment if you like. And if you've been tuning in through YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. Hit that like button as well. And if you can, please share this episode so that more people can discover the truth that heals, which was presented by today's guest, Gabriela Ayala. And again, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And if you would like to help me out, you can do so by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/truth7. As you see, I don't have any coffee with me at the moment. So if you want, you can contribute there. All of your help, all of your contributions help me to keep the podcast going, help me to buy coffee, and helps me to do simple things like paying the bills. So for everyone who's tuned in, thank you so much for tuning in. And to our dear guest, Gabriela, thank you so much for sharing your truth that heals on the podcast.
Thank you, Ryan. It was a pleasure.